This is your basic water change video. First go over the equipment that you're going to need. First, you need two 5-gallon buckets for a 5-gallon water change. If you want to do a larger water change, 10 gallons, you can use this and mark the side. No. But basically, to do a water change, you're going to want to do, they say 10% a week. While I'm done, you can probably do one of these every 2 weeks or so and get away with it and be just fine. But if you do that, then I'll have you do like a big 10-gallon water change at least once a month. Alright, so basic equipment. Two 5-gallon buckets. They're the pump and 5 gallons of the RODI water. The easiest way to do this is throughout the week just fill up a jug. The container in there holds 3 gallons if it's completely full. So if you know, hey, I'm going to do one on Saturday, then start filling them up throughout the week so you just have it ready to go. It really shortens the duration of the water change. You need your salt. The bags are outside in the shed. It says Instant Ocean, big orange box. I think there's 3 of these left. One of these will make, I believe it's 50 gallons of salt water. So you shouldn't need any new stuff before I leave. The scale and the small bucket. The easiest way to start is to first measure your salt. So I turn the scale on with everything on it and it'll auto zeroize. Leave it in the grams mode. Don't change it over to pounds and ounces. And then put the salt in until there's 700 grams in the bucket. You can go over a little bit. I wouldn't go under, but not go over by too terribly much. 25 or 30 grams would be fine. Oops, here's 821. I just pour some back. So there's 740 grams in there. What I plan on doing before I leave is actually to get quart-sized baggies and make a bunch of 700 gram baggies for you. So you use 700 grams of salt for every 5 gallons. So if you're doing 10, do 1,400 grams, and this will go and do 1,400 grams pretty easily. So then I usually use the gray bucket for the new water, and this to empty the blue one to empty the old water. So you start off by just pouring your salt in the gray bucket, and then you dump your water in. What I do is I put 4 gallons in, then I plug a pump in and let it circulate while I'm heating up the last gallon. So, and then after I get the last gallon heated up, I make sure that this water is clear before I dump it into the tank. Because if it's not clear, it means the salt's not dissolved, and you don't want that into the tank. It messes with it pretty well. Alright, you come here. I'll show you the, I put 4 gallons in plus the salt. And so now I'm just going to plug the pump in. And it does. So the pump has air in it, so you're just going to have to, bang it against the side of the bucket. And it'll get the air out and it'll start moving the water. You just leave it in the bottom, it'll mix up. And then, so you can shine it in there to see, it's kind of cloudy right now. And then after you heat the water up and pour it in there, and then let it circulate, it'll clear up. I like to let it circulate for like half hour to 45 minutes at a minimum. If it's clear by then and I'm in a hurry, I can go ahead and dump it in the tank. But some people say like 12 to 24 hours let it circulate. I think that's a little bit overkill, but that's my personal opinion.
Can I do all this near the tank so I don't have to carry the 5 gallons? So
yes, you can. It's just the last gallon. If you need to heat it up, you'll have to carry it over. I have those oven mitts in there that you can use. But yeah, you can do this all right next to the tank. This has a pretty long cord in it, and there's a plug on the wall underneath the picture, so you can plug it in too. All right, if you're doing a 10-gallon water change, the reason you use this one and that and the 2 buckets is so that you take as much water out of the tank as you put into the tank. In order to do a water change, you always take the bad water out of the tank before you add the new water. So what you can do is you can just make 2 5-gallon buckets of new salt water, dump them into the big container, so you know you have 10 gallons in there. And then when you take the water out of the tank, put the bad water into the empty 2 buckets, so you know you have 10 gallons in here once they're full, 10 gallons in there. It makes the process a little bit easier. Alright, now we're to the portion where we're going to take the old water out of the tank, put the new water into the tank. Once a month, I'd like it if you grab the turkey baster without anything on it. And what you do is you just fill it with water and then go around some of the rocks where there aren't any corals and just squeeze. You can see that it's kicking up a lot of the fish waste and old food and stuff. What it does is just helps the filter be able to pick that stuff up as you're pulling the old water out. There's not a lot of places in the tank where this stuff settles. It seems to be mostly right up here on top. So you just kind of squirt around a little bit. You want to do the sand too, kind of turn it over. Sometimes it gets a little brown with some waste and some algae and things like that. So just do the sand a little bit. You're not trying to make a storm, you're just trying to move it around so that the waste goes into the water, so as you take it out, you're taking out all that waste with it. It just helps the tank stay cleaner. You can see it kind of clouded up a little bit when I did that. Then while you're here too, if there's sand on any of the corals, you can just take this thing and really, really lightly just knock the sand off of them. And some of these corals aren't attached to the rocks they're on, so they'll come off. Alright. Now the fun part is getting the water out and then getting new water back in. The easiest way I found to do this is to first unplug the protein skimmer. Pull the protein skimmer. It's labeled skimmer. That's on the bottom right, and it'll shut that down because the water level will fluctuate a lot in there, so you don't want that overflowing. The second thing I do is kick off the auto top-off system. You can just do that by pulling the left plug out of the system. You want to hold it and then pull the left plug out, and that way, if the water level drops in here when you turn the pumps off, when the water level drops, it doesn't empty all of this water into the tank, completely changing this. Now what I do, it's kind of a dynamic way of emptying the tank. So I'm going to start by emptying this one with the pumps running. And once I get it going, I'm going to pull the main pump off. And I'll show you why I do that. So you just take this hose, you put it in here. You take this one, you suck on the end until the water just caresses this and starts to flow down, and then put it in the bucket so you don't inhale it. So it should be just water. So this tube will stop curling once there's water in it. But now you'll see the water level in there will start to drop. So it's filling up with water. Yeah. And after the water level gets to the red line down there, or close to it, I will pull the main pump, which is just right above the protein skimmer. So the plug that's right above where you pulled the skimmer, no, please, you pull that one, and suddenly this one starts filling up with a lot of water. And the reason that I start pulling this out first is so it minimizes the loss in here. Because if you unplug it, the water is going to flow out down into here, and then you're taking more out, so the water level will be too low in here. So once the water gets up to the top of the blue, just before that you want to pull this out of the water. Don't pull that one, obviously. You never know if people do weird stuff. So it's getting to the top, so I'll just undo that and you let the water flow down, and then just take the hose. A couple towels handy is probably a good thing, just so you can set wet items down. So now we have 5 gallons of old water and 5 gallons of new water. The new water back into the tank is for me just to dump it, but there's another way that I want to show you. You take the same pump that you mixed everything with, and you hook it up to...
Yeah, because I don't know if I'll be able to lift that.
Yeah. You hook it up to the tube, okay? And the tube has like... It's supposed to be the same, but one end fits on it a little better, a little more snug. I can mark that for you. And then put it in the water, facing up, so make sure the pump is facing up. It just makes it easier, into the new water. And you take this and you just insert
Adeline, no
it.
touch.
You just insert it into the sump. Okay.
I need to take.
So these lids come off. So you just put it into the sump, and then the pump is in there. Then you take the pump, plug it in, and it will literally, you see it, it'll pump the water from your bucket into the system. So you don't have to lift it up. Then you gotta remember though, this pump does not pump as quickly as the main pump in there. So if you start both of them back up at the exact same time, this one will get too low and you get water in the pumps, and that can cause damage by the pumps drying out because they use the water to cool down, so they'll overheat. So you let it fill up a ways, usually to, you can do it to the max fill level that I have set up here. Once it gets there, you can turn on, you can plug back in the main pump, and then that will pump the water that's being pumped into here back up into the main tank. And once the water in the main tank reaches the full level, it will start to reflow back down into the pump, and the cycle will start, and then you'll be able to finish. You're funny. Then you'll be able to finish pumping the new water in. Sometimes there's a little bit of water left in the bottom. You can just dump it in when you're done. If this pump here,
Adeline, go smile at Eli.
if this pump here runs for a little while with no water, it'll just make like a gargling noise. It's not going to hurt it too much. So you can see the water levels to the maximum fill line. I will pump, or turn the main pump back on. You'll see that it'll start pumping the new water back up into the main tank. As you can see, the main tank's pretty much full. The cycle is restarted. There's a little bit of water left in the bottom here. If you tilt the bucket on its side, it'll pump the last little bit of water back into the system. Hold on, baby. But it won't pump the whole tube clear, and you don't want to recycle or siphon backwards. So I undo the pump and I plug it with my thumb and hold it up, and that'll allow the last bits of water to flow back into the tank. And I put that back in an empty bucket and unplug the pump so it doesn't run.
Adeline, go smile at Eli so he's not fussy. Give him smiles.
Okay, so now you can see that the tank has evened itself out and the water level is just a touch higher than where it was. You can just go and leave that. You can turn the auto top-off system back on